So, good afternoon ladies and gentlemen, my name's Erik Lander. I'm honoured to be here today as part of the British Barbers Association 24 hours of live education. 5 PM here in the UK, so obviously in your own country and so on, it'll be your local time as such. So again, just an honour and a pleasure to be here. This is my model, this is Kieren. I'm quite excited to be doing Kieren's hair today because it's quite normal now that guys have got a bit of a longer sort of length on the top and so on, because obviously through lockdown they've grown their hair that little bit more. We are going to be keeping some of the length through the top, but I kind of want to talk you through, this is deliberately why I've left the haircut dry to let you see what I'm starting with. There's a few bits that I'm going to kind of come to, but also I'm going to ask you some questions, and these questions are designed, I'm not going to tell you the answer because you're going to come to the answer and the conclusion yourself. So one of the things that happens all the time is, if I just kind of show you what we've got at the moment. So you can see that Kieren's hair is that little bit longer on the top. As we come through the side areas and we start to come down, you can see that the previous haircut, what they've done is they've used probably a number 1, a number 2 guard blending through and so on. But look here, and I'm hoping you'll be able to see this in the camera, but if we work through there, what you end up having is you have a little bit of a rounded bulk here, okay? So if I show you that going all the way round, you can see here that we can start to see too much weight and too much thickness. And partly, I'm going to say it and talk about a couple of things today that will be different and probably go against what you've been taught and trained. And one of the issues that I find as an educator is that it's harder to retrain somebody than it is to train somebody. And the reason for that is that they've already got into certain habits or techniques and so on. And the reason they've got into these is because when they were learning, that's the way they were shown. Exactly as when I was learning, I still use some of those techniques, but I also have adapted and changed and thought about how something works. Once you understand it, you can then, I think, look at it in a different way, and it becomes much more simpler. So here's the first one that I'm just going to throw in there, which will be probably very different to how some of you, not all of you, but how some of you cut hair. So when we're looking at this haircut, I'm going to break the head into basically 2 areas. So one of them here is this top area, which is the top, crown and so on. And then we've got the back and sides through here. So people normally, when they're going to be doing the haircut, they'll start with the back and sides. Now, when we break down clippering and we analyse what it is, really all we're doing is we're looking to create a straight line between 2 points to give us this graduation and the taper. And then this point here blends in with the top, okay? So one of the biggest mistakes that I see all of the time is things like this. So if we look at this here, you can see that the clipper work's been done, and again, the clippering's good, but if I lift this area here, where this part meets this part, where the top meets the back and sides, if I lift that, you can see what we've got here, is that we've got, there's the clippering, and then there's the top and the back and sides, and the 2 of them really should be creating a straight line to blend. Now, it is a straight line, but remember, depending on the length of the hair will depend on the angle that you would work to. So the longer the top is, and if I talk in numbers, it probably makes it easier to understand. And when I'm talking about numbers, I'm not actually talking about a grade or a guard. If I'm talking about guards, I'll use number 1, number 2. If I'm talking about length, I'm just talking 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we really want to get in a nice true taper is where the hair goes from 0 and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it gets longer as it gradually comes up. When we work with an attachment, what it tends to do, like a number 2, is it does the same, so it goes 2, 2, 2. And then we scoop out with the attachment to give us that extra length and blend with the next number, number 3, number 4 guard and so on. But again, how do we know what length to take this clippering? Because remember, all it is a contact or a line between point A and point B. And point B is the length that the top is going to be when it's finished. So how are we able to create a straight line here when we don't know what that second point is? Because really, it's almost like saying to you, right, I'm going to give you 2 points, draw a straight line between them, and it's very simple. But if I say to you, right, there's 1 point, draw a straight line between the 2 points, but don't give you the second one, it could be anywhere. And effectively, that is how clippering works. So what I'm kind of getting to is that personally for me, I always find that it's better to work and cut through the top of the hair. And then what that does, when I do this area and I come round and work through to here and down to the side, and I do the lengths that connect the top with the back and sides, what I'm going to be able to do is I will create my finished length here. Once I've got that finished length, I can then work my clippering from however short I want it to be to however long I want it to be. So, as I say, we get taught to do something a particular way. And a lot of the time, that's just because the person that's teaching you was taught that way themselves. So it's about thinking about what you do, about how you do it, and sometimes is there an easier or alternative way to do it that might make it, as I say, quicker or easier or just more effective. So I find that when we are doing something like this, I cut the top first, because then when I come to do the clippering, I'm clippering to a finished length. And that finished length just allows me to create a nice taper between 2 points. Okay, so that's kind of the first one. We'll come to the other ones gradually as we work through our haircut. So as I say, just to give you a quick look about how Kieren's hair is at the moment, you can see that this side, again, very slightly the same, but if you look at this area is actually more graduated, whereas when we get to here, you can see it rounded more in the hair. So let's have a look and analyse what that is. So there's the bit, there's that extra length at the top, and that's quite thick. Once we get to here, this, you can see there, it's actually been thinned out and there's a lot less of the hair. So therefore, when there's less bulk, there's less of a curve this way. And it's very simple. This is one of the things that as we're creating, this is what you create when you work with the back and sides first and then finish the top. It's not always blended properly. When we work, we do the top, we cut that to the length we want, and then we graduate from the sides up. So, I look at an education haircut differently, and I want to, rather than say to you that's the wrong way to do it, you know, because you're not doing it the way I do it, it's not about that. It's about me giving you little hints and tips that you can build into your existing techniques, which might make them, again, easier or more understanding. But understanding is the key to everything. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to give you as much of an understanding of what I'm thinking when I'm going through this haircut. So let's start. So with the haircut itself, we want to keep length at the front. As I say, I really like working with a bit more length. You can create better and more styles with that. Kieren feels it's a bit thick, so when we look at the hair, there is a bit of texturizing on the ends, but it's been done with thinning scissors. So, and it's not that it's not right, it's just it does it in a particular way. So we're going to raise it through just a little bit to create a bit of texture, but he's got quite fine hair, so although it's fine, he's got a lot of it. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to take the length or the thickness really short, the bulk. I'm looking to still keep a little bit of length because that works with the rest of the shape and style, and then just a nice gradual taper just to work through and allow us to blend and create that really sort of nice longer haircut for a guy. Because as I say, I think things are changing. Guys are going away from that cropped look, having a bit more length, and it's acceptable for them to straighten their hair, style it, and so on. So, okay, right. So we're going to damp the hair down first of all, and as I say, I'm probably doing this in a different order to what you would do, where you would start with the front, start with the back and sides, and so on. So this is the first time that I've actually seen Kieren's hair. I've worked with him. He's a friend of a friend, so we're basically going to be working blind to start with, so it's like any normal new client that walks into the salon. As I say, we've gone through quite an in-depth consultation to find out what he likes to do with his hair, also to find out what he doesn't want to do with it. He doesn't want to spend a lot of time styling and so on. He's much more of a natural, but he likes a bit of length to tousle around. So we're going to start, and we're going to take a central guideline down the head. So okay, so if I take this guideline, we're going to be working, lifting this section up. So you can see that the hair itself is a bit thinner on the end, and this is what I'm saying about it's been done with thinning scissors to taper gradually through there. So we want to keep all of the length. Now, when we're working with scissors, fingers, it's about this. It's about the angle that we work to. And if you constantly think about the angle and what it will achieve lengthwise, because you need to look at the haircut as a three-dimensional shape. So we're going to lift this up. We're taking a small enough section that we've got this between our fingers, and then we're going to angle up at the front to, you can see that our guideline here, or the length of the front, is now in my fingers. But when we've got straight tension and my fingers are angled down the way, it's going to leave length at the front, and it's going to keep this a little bit shorter as we work back towards the crown. Now, that's the fundamentals of cutting hair. What these two fingers, what angles they do. Do you pull them out? Do you pull them in? And so on. So that's one of the things that is key for understanding how hair cutting works. So we need to know our overall line, and that is called your profile line of the haircut. And that profile line is here, all the way there, all the way round, and it comes up and gives us this three-dimensional shape. And that is your key to any haircut. So let's actually start. So we're picking up the hair, we're lifting the hair straight out from the head, 90 degrees from the scalp, and then we're angling our fingers up at the front, and then we're taking a little bit more length off through that back area there. So we're just looking at creating this line. And as I say, clippering, cutting hair, fundamentally, it's all to do with creating a straight line between 2 points. So if we go on a bigger scale, I'm creating a straight line between here and here. Once I get to the crown, I'm then going to be creating a curve to follow the contour of the head. And that's another bit of a controversial thing, and it's about the masculine or feminine way to cut hair. And it's all about being square. But I'm going to look at it slightly different, because cutting hair is about geometry. And the fundamental problem with keeping a haircut square is that we work on a round head. We don't work on a square head. So when if we keep it square, we keep extra length, and when that length falls, it creates bulk. And all we do is we keep that bulk because we cut a square shape, and then we go over and scissor over comb, or we cut it out that way to make sure it blends. So again, it's about understanding that we want a straight line here, but we're going to round it more there to follow the contour of the head, And then as it comes down, we then create the straight line of the clippering. And that works exactly the same all the way around. So longer at the front, that way and that way. Then, again, we're coming back to the square part. When we come to the sides, what we will be doing is we will be changing them to this way, so that we create this line coming up, but we need to take a little corner off here, because that corner is there. There's your corner that's creating the problem. You can see that is the bit of hair that creates the roundedness. So when we're working, when we remove that little corner, what it does is it makes the hair blend and follow better. Okay. So, lifting the hair up, we're following the guideline, taking it back. We're not going to be taking the crown too short, because we want to keep a little bit of length on the crown. And then you can see my fingers are now angling down the way to blend with this bottom line that's coming up that way. So I'm left-handed, so when I'm working this way, I will pull the hair across now. And then when we pick this hair up, this is my guideline on this side. And remember, we're only taking a fraction off because this is the length of the front. And then as we take a little bit and we start to work back the way, you can now start to see that the guideline is gradually getting shorter and shorter as we work through. So just blending this in. Okay, so as we come to this area here, we've got, look at the way that the hair is thicker and denser here. You can see that because it's darker. And that's because it's thin, it's not as thin. So when they've come through and they've thinned with the thinning scissors, they've done it more in some areas and less in others. And that creates that longer area. Okay, so as we work to the sides now, watch the difference. Now, so look at my fingers now, they're now starting to come down the way. And this is the corner which has created the weight and the bulk on the haircut. So my fingers here are straight, 5, 4, 3, 2, and so on. So they're creating that line. So when we now look at the haircut, you can see that the haircut itself doesn't have the same bulbous look to it all the way round through there. So, and all we've done is we have taken a corner from roughly about an inch above the connection between the clippering and the back and the top. So that's got a rough line that works through here, and it's roughly about an inch higher than that. And that's, so if we work around, and remember what I've done is I've cut this side of the head. We haven't cut this side coming down, so when we lift that up, there's your corner. Okay, and when and this is the thing, that if you do it this way, where you cut the back and sides and then do the top, once you've done that, if you go back over and just do this, connect this with this at the top. When we start to bring that back round, you can now see that it's removed the bulbous area, and this is one of the things which most people have the biggest problem with, is blending between these two areas, and it really is quite simple. So, right, let's go back, because we're coming off track a little bit. So, what I've done so far, I've taken my central guideline, I've combed the hair, I've cut my guideline like this, longer at the front, shorter at the back. We've then combed our guide across. We've then taken sections here, 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 all the way back and around. We've lifted up and we've taken off any little excess length or corners that are there. As I say, there's a little tiny bit of texturising still in the hair, which is a good thing because we'll do a little bit more, but sometimes when the hair has been excessively thinned with a pair of thinning scissors, it's unworkable because the hairs go from really short, there's no thickness, therefore there's no weight, and therefore it's uncontrollable. So just go easy with the thinners. So we're going to comb our central guideline across to the right now, and then we're going to lift up this area here. Again, we're taking hardly anything off the front, and then as we work back, you will see the guideline kick into play, and then we're looking at removing that little corner that's there. And as I say, we get, as I was trained, that everything basically is going to be really quite square and very masculine. So just through 35 years of experience, I found that some of these things don't work, and this is one of them. So let me give you my understanding, and please remember it's just my understanding of how this works, but in practice it works, okay? The difference between masculine and feminine is because when we're working, for instance, with clippering, it's not about how long or how short it is. It's about how soft it is. It's about whether we've got blunt, bold, straight lines, or whether we've got soft, wispy, feminine curves. So here's the example. People think that the whole masculine thing is this, right? There is only really, truly one haircut that falls into that, and it's the flat top. But remember what we do with the flat top. We blow dry the flat top right up. So effectively, everything is sitting straight out from the head, and then we create that shape. But if you don't style a flat top, when this area here, because this bit of hair here is shorter than what this bit of hair here is, and when we have that, when this isn't styled, that falls down and it creates exactly the weight in the haircut that I showed you earlier on in Kieren's hair. Not quite, his wasn't as bad because there was a bit of layering on the top, but it's really quite heavy and thick. So truly the only style that works on the square part is the flat top. Where the masculine feminine thing comes in is this. When we're working with a male, we're doing definite sharp, clean lines around the head. We're around the ear. It's not about how high you take it around the ear, it's about how sharp and how bold. When we work down through the drop down zone through here, with a man, we're creating a bold, sharp, strong shape. With a woman, we would graduate it and we would just leave the natural neckline. So this is the difference between the masculine and the feminine. When we're working with a female clipper cut, for instance, we're still following that same graduation, but the same line, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it isn't about the length, it's about how we soften the edges. And as I say, once we get to this top area here, it's an ideal scenario to have it where it's square and masculine, but as I say, in reality, we create bulk in the haircut. So unless that style is elevated through blow drying and being quite full, and again, you can do this with curly hair, but if you're wanting to keep it that way, you can create the squareness through the actual styling. If you create it through the haircut, you struggle to style it because the cut's not right. So the squareness on a man is through here. It's the sharp, straight, bold lines, fringes and so on, that type of thing. And the easy way to explain it is that feminine, soft, smooth, wispy, and so on. Masculine, stronger, sharper, bolder. Okay? So, as we've gone through this top area, you can see that, I'm just going to turn it around. So, recapping about what we've done, taken a central guideline down, combed it across, worked our way round. We then went out of kilter and did this bit to show you just that it's only one area to blend. So when we come back now, see we've still got a little corner there. There's my previous bit stopping, and there's what I did when I blended that. So all I'm going to do is take that little corner off. And that little corner will be the difference, and remember it gets longer as we come to the front. That small corner will be the difference of having a rounded bit of bulk there or not, really. Okay, right, so that's really all we're going to do lengthwise for the top. So just double checking again, what side you were at to, that way?
Yeah.
Yeah, that way, okay. So the way Kieren tends to sweep his hair around, okay? So he likes to say that little bit through here, but we're going to take out a little bit of bulk and a little bit of weight through here now as well. And what that will allow us to do is get that little bit of fullness in the hair. So we're going to change tools. We're going to go over here to the razor now. So because we're razoring, we're just going to damp the hair down very slightly. Okay, so slightly back. And all I'm doing here is I want to soften the ends of the hair a little bit more. So I'm just skimming over the top. I'm not leaning heavy, and I'm not going right into the hair. Now, me getting that noise, that's telling me that I'm only cutting a small amount of hair off, because if I had to use the blade much more open, what would happen is I would cut much more hair off. So I'm closing the blade more, and I'm using it more, sort of just more than 90 degrees onto the hair. So rather than being really open like this, I'm bringing it back like that, and it's almost like I'm scraping along the hair. But the more you close the blade, the less hair you will take off. And I only want to take a little bit off to soften, because ultimately what this is doing is it's cutting some of the hair. Let's say the hair's that length, and it cuts some of the hair to this length. When I do this, when I just softly go over the hair, okay? So you can see it's not a lot of hair that I'm actually removing, but the length of the hair could be an inch or so, but the bit that's left on here now, when I do this, look at the hair. Can you see that that hair seems less willing to fall? Because I've given it some posts that stick up, and the length then falls onto these, and it gives it some structure, stability and support. So if we just have a look, if I just show you now, and remember, all I have done is I've taken that and I've connected this area above to the underneath. I haven't done any of the clippering, just cut the top. And you can see as we kind of go around a little bit more through here, that bulk and weight now is all gone. We've got a nice blend. Let's do it the other way as well, on that other side. And it's purely taking the corner from here. Now, we've still got a fraction there, but I'm looking at that as part of the front, so I'll deal with that when we do the front actual section. So we're going to work now, and as I say, what Kieren wants is that he wants a nice gradual taper at the bottom, but I was trained traditionally, so I wasn't allowed to use clippers till we'd done scissor over comb, and then once we'd done scissor over comb, we use clippers without attachments. Then if we want to thereafter, we can use attachments. But once you've learned and been trained, again, what I think is the proper way, the traditional way, not using attachments and things like that to supposedly make it easier, but they don't, because they give you more of a stepped result and you still see lines and stuff like that. This way, because I'm not putting a line in at all, I'm not getting a line that I have to remove. So I work really quite slowly. I work in panels up the head, and my tapering is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just gets gradually longer. But if it's really short at the top, it would be more at that angle, or longer on the top, maybe more at this angle. So again, you can see that, again, it's just about being slow, being precise, and because I watch some people work so quickly, they've made mistakes before they've actually even seen they've made them, and then all that means is that it's another process that they have to do within the haircut to get rid of that. So I can work quite quickly because I'm slow, because I'm precise, and because I'm gradual. So we're going to work through here. I'm just going to change the mask position. Okay?
Yeah, sounds like so.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Do you like to keep your sideburns, or
Just get rid of them.
just
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So because of the beard shape, we'll take them just closer, and it'll blend, and he can do what he's looking to do with them. Okay, so you'll hear a difference in the clippers. So what I'm doing is I'm changing from, and I class this as like a 0.5, like a half guard. So, and you can see with these clippers, we've got, I'm using the diamond blades, so it's a bit sharp, a bit more durable. We've got notches on the back of them. So this takes us right down to, it's not 0, it's not that close. Not only that, I keep mine a little bit further away. And the honest reason is because I do a lot of stage work, and the last thing that I want to do is I want to cut somebody on stage. So I'd rather have the line not quite so sharp, that I can sharpen up with the small clippers, rather than running the risk of leaning too heavy and so on. So there's no need for it. So 0, 0.1, and then as we change, you can hear the difference. So I'm going to be doing that, and the general time that I change, initially I'm going to use the 0.5 and I'm going to flick all the way round. I'm then going to blend, and I'm going to come from underneath and then graduate that up into the shape. So you will, when I'm working with more tapering and graduating that way, it will be on 0.5, but then when I want to be more precise, I'm going to be bringing it down to 0.1 and then working much more slowly but closely. Okay. And you can see that because what I'm doing here is I'm almost using the clippers as a pivot. And I'm locking this arm in, and I'm just doing this. And because I'm going and I'm coming out gradually, you can see it almost gives me a beautiful taper where there's not really too much more work that I'm looking at doing. So this is what I mean about making the future parts of your haircut much easier and simpler by slowing down at this point. So we're going to do this, and when we didn't have masks to cope with, I would do this flick all the way round, and then I would work with my clipper up, up, up. So I'm going to do it probably to here. I'm going to do that side. And this is where we're really having to adapt. First of all, I don't know about anybody else, but I can't breathe, I can't see properly, and it's just a nightmare. But we adapt, we get used to these things, and ultimately, it's going to be with us for a while, so just get used to it, deal with it. So, I'm doing it out of kilter, so I would normally do all of it, so I'm going to do these side areas, bring the mask back up, then do the back area. Okay. nice and slowly. Yes. So let me just show you a little tiny bit about what we do now. So think about this in numbers. We've just gone 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and then it's gone to being longer. So I'm now going to take the clipper off 0.5 and put it with the comb, and I'm now going to do nice and slow clipper over comb, just to work up. And remember, because I've done the top already, as I'm working to a finished length. I'm going to push on here.
Yeah, no, that's right.
You can actually, I think you can you see like a darker area here? So all that it means is it's just a little bit longer. So as I do this, I'm pushing the comb right against here. So the length of 0.5, this length here, doesn't come through the comb, but yet anything longer does. So all I'm really doing is I'm taking the clipper and I'm taking the comb, and as I get to that longer hair, you can see that the hair now is coming through the comb. So just nice and slowly. Okay, so let's take it across to the other side now. And again, this is where we're working really completely out of pattern, out of our area and the method we would normally work. Pay attention to detail. Can you see one or two little hairs that are still there? They'll grow and he'll feel them. So things like that is the difference between you being able to charge 25 quid for a haircut or 15 or 10 quid for a haircut. Depends how much detail. but it also depends on how good it is, but also how good he thinks it is, and we'll come to that at the end. So again, I'm going to push on you.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
Talk to your client, because what I need to do here is I need to get my comb in, I need to get it round, and I need to elevate that hair out from the head. But one of the things that happens is the harder you push on his head, the more he just does that and moves his head over. Sometimes with some clients, because they think you're pushing harder to move the head. So again, talk to him, explain to him, because the other thing is when I say to them, right, keep your head there, and then I do that, what they do is they go right over against you and it brings that way. So just make sure he knows what it is that you want him to do. So we're just pushing gently, and as you can see, by elevating that out, you can see that hair comes out, and then I'm just basically following the bottom of the comb. Just going to swap over at the moment onto my small clippers, because I'm going to move the mask back, so I want to have this finished. So just while we're doing this, these two clippers are my favourite clippers. So this is the Barretto. So again, it's just a fantastic clipper. Look at the kind of shape of it, and it's designed to fit exactly where it should do. So a fantastic clipper, and then it's baby brother, so the Barretto. So again, just these are not as probably close as your detailers. Again, detailers are fantastic, but I like the twin set, if I'm honest. So, and they're fantastic clippers. So you can see that we're just detailing and edging. We're not creating a new line, we're just creating a sharp one. Okay, so anything low down and so on, we're done. So again, just another, you all, I presume and hope know this, but if we do this, what it does, it brings this top one down the way, so it actually frees up this area for us to work in. Okay, so we're going to go now again to the neckline. This is a completely normal neckline. He's actually got a really good neckline, and part of the reason is because you can see that it doesn't massively grow out of it doesn't sort of grow really hairy down here and out of the shape. but it does grow up and into the middle. Okay, so our fundamental way that we are doing this, and I'm going to show you exactly what happens and why we have to adapt. So I'm going to use my clipper again. I'm going to put it back onto 0.5 and I'm going to flick. I'm going to create a perfect tapered neckline 20 seconds, but it's only going to taper some of it, because anything, when I flick up, anything I'm going with is just going to push it flat against. So you'll see that this grows up and down, up and down. This, it won't cut, this, it will. So watch. And as I say, again, I'm locking my arm in and I'm just doing this. And this is another real fundamental part to it, is that I've got to steady it. It's almost like a bicycle wheel turning. So with one fork, it could waver and so on. So when I'm doing this, I'm holding it and it's giving it that stability. Okay? So here we go. 0.5. Notice none of this is moving. It's just kind of here. So let's look at what we have now. So can you see the dark areas? All of this, we've gone with the growth and we've left it. So what we need to do is we need to now turn our clipper the other way and just gently go over it. But when I talk about the graduation, again, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, clippers work both ways. So we can do them this way, but we can also do it that way. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to go straight in and then down, because it will create a bulk and a weight line. So again, instead of me flicking up the way, and this is my sort of circle, you come down the way with a circle and it will remove that. And the reason it will remove it is because we're going against the growth. Well, the other thing that I can do, I can either start to reduce the length of the blade, or I can start, instead of being there, I can start to bring the clipper that way, and the distance from the blade between here and here is longer than it is if we have it like that between the blade. So if I had to go in and work it flatter, it'll take it shorter. So still keep it on 0.5, but watch. This will get a little bit shorter. And then all we do, nice sharp line through there. So same on the other side. So we went up. Forward. Okay, and we're just going to work up now, because you can see here that, because look at that, there's the 0.5 and there's the extra length. Nice and slowly. Now, it's not perfect yet, but I'll show you just a little tip through there. Notice as well, I keep doing this. The reason is the hair will show me shading and shadow and things like that. So it shows me what I still need to do. So you can see here, you know, little bits through there. This is reading the hair. So you can see here that we've got the 0.5, and I've deliberately done it lower than where I wanted it to finish, because the smoothness of me doing this takes all of this away. All I'm going to do is do this a little bit higher. Slightly forward, too far. Now here, the hair itself is starting to come over. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of coming against its growth. Now, what I'm doing here is almost a clipper, well, it is clipper over comb, but it's like I'm using thinning scissors. Because I'm doing it quite quickly, I'm not allowing the clipper enough time to cut all of the hair. So it's like thinning scissors, it just softens. And that gives you that perfect blend in areas that you feel maybe are just a little bit still thick or heavy. So, I think we're nearly there. Okay. So we're going to be doing the edging now. So remember, we've edged up to here. So this is something which again is really important, and we need to do it the right way. There is fundamentally 3 neckline shapes. You've got your taper, you've got your square, and you've also got your rounded neckline. So with that, what that's going to do is that the tapered neckline is going to be gradual. So that just gradually gives the natural shape of the neckline. Your square neckline obviously gives you the blunt line, but the square neckline is going to, if you take any hair like this away, it will grow back through and still leave you the line. So, and then the rounded neckline, I'm not a lover of because it's too feminine. And people cut it as a smiley face, which is a woman's neckline. Whereas you can have a man's rounded neckline, but it's a square neckline with the tiny corners cut off, just to soften it slightly. Remember, still giving you the bold, strong, masculine shape. So, I'm connecting with the head. And then creating nice outline. Notice I'm still keeping this M shape. It's part of his neckline. All I'm cleaning away here is little neck hairs. So as this grows back in, it will grow back in perfectly, exactly the shape of his neckline. So let me come this side so you can see. Okay, so last little bit is we're going to go over just with this razor and just soften. Can you see this thickness and this thickness? Just a little bit. So we can just see through it a little bit more. Okay, so just wanted to show you a little trick as well. So we're going to use a couple of products just to style. But it's like a pre-styling product. And all it is a hairspray. Because his hair's too soft, it's too flyaway. So I want to dirty it a little bit. Okay, and then again, tiny bit of moulding cream, because moulding cream is going to give me a bit more texture. It's a wetter product. So this is a key for you as well. When you warm your products up, or use products in there, and then you're just going to roughly mess it through the hair, okay? And what this is doing is it's taking away any flyaway bits. And then just a little bit more of a stronger, so we're using the clay here. Same thing again, and this is going to hold it. Just giving us that perfect finish on the clipper cut. There you go. So just something a little bit longer, still a nice graduation, a nice taper onto the haircut itself. So I hope you've enjoyed today. My name's Erik Lander. If there is any information you want to find out, eriklander.com. I also educate for the BBA and Goldwell, so there's lots of different platforms that I'm on that you can get me through. I hope you've enjoyed today. I hope you've enjoyed the different sort of way I educate. And as I say, I'm there. If anybody needs any education, just drop me a line. So just want to say thank you to my model, Kieren. He's a fantastic model, great hair to work with. Thanks to my wife for filming, but also thanks to the BB8, and thank you to you for watching. I'm on live at the moment, so any questions, just give me a bell. Thank you very much.